why you don't have 3 dates a month if you're a man with a busy career or your own business, but you haven't been able to get the dating life you'd like to have, or you haven't found the right girlfriend, life partner, or wife, this video is for you. Today we're going to talk about the top 3 reasons why you haven't been able to achieve that desired outcome in your dating or relationship life yet. Now, it is evidently not the case that you're not intelligent. It is evidently not the case that you are not competent because you have achieved significant things in your life, be that in your career, your business, your finances, your fitness. You have achieved things you're quite proud of in certain areas in your life that were challenging to achieve. So it is not the fact that you can't achieve difficult things. So what is it? Well, the number one reason is a lack of motivation. You are not sufficiently motivated. You have not yet understood how terrible your life is going to be if you don't sort this out. So in order to get yourself to do the things that are necessary, to put yourself out there, to move through the discomfort of meeting women, getting rejected, be that online or in real life, in order to get yourself to do that, you almost have to create a dystopian vision of the future that you couldn't tolerate. Basically, you ask yourself, how terrible is my life going to be if I don't sort this out? And in order to get that kind of leverage over yourself, you first have to understand what you already value, because that's going to be different for you than to other people, right? Maybe you can ask yourself, well, what is it for me? What could I not live without? What is the pain I'm going to experience if I don't sort this out? Because when it comes to motivation, there's only ever 2 things that motivate us. One, pleasure, and the other one is pain. We want to move towards happiness, joy, and fulfillment, and avoid pain. That's all we ever do. All we ever do in life is to meet our needs and to move towards pleasure, joy, and happiness, and away from pain. So once you know that, you can ask yourself, what's the pain that I'm going to experience in the future if I don't sort this out? And then you can think about, well, you're going to keep waking up alone with the tissues left somewhere around the bed, a little bit of lubricant because you had the Netflix, but you were chilling by yourself the night before. You're going to keep falling asleep alone. You're not going to have somebody to travel the world with. You're not going to have somebody to share life's special moments with. You're not going to be able to build a family. Or you're going to end up with the wrong woman because you're going to settle for somebody who's maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 on your subjective scale in terms of personality, intelligence, and looks. And then what's going to happen, you're going to start resenting yourself and that person, and your children are going to grow up watching mommy and daddy fight because daddy wasn't man enough to put himself out there to actually choose an amazing girlfriend and life partner from a variety of options, and now he hates his life and he's passive aggressive towards the children and his wife, which is going to make life for your children a living hell. So figure out what motivates you. In other words, what's the pain you're trying to avoid? What is a dystopian vision of the future you could not tolerate? Because that pain is going to be bigger than the little bit of pain that comes from a rejection, a little bit of approach anxiety, not knowing the technical skills yet. Yes, it takes effort, but if you understand that there's so much pain that you're trying to avoid, you're going to get yourself to take action. Now here's the thing. Gunther Schmidt in Germany says that increasing pain, in other words, increasing the perceived pain we're going to experience in the future, not necessarily actual current pain, but perceived pain in the future, which does have an impact on our neurology, our emotions in the moment, increasing that increases our willingness to change, but not necessarily our own feeling of competence. In other words, if you're only associated, in neurolinguistic programming they call it association, if you're only associated with the bad that's going to happen if you don't take action, you'll feel very motivated to move away from that, but you might feel exhausted. You're not going to feel very competent. So pain can be a great initial motivator when you're feeling lazy, when you're trying to overcome the fear of rejection, the fear of approach anxiety, or to just put yourself into a mode of action of finding the solution. That's great. But if you want long-term motivation that's going to sustain you, where you can actually enjoy the process, you need joy, purpose, meaning. In other words, pleasure. You need something that's pulling you into the future. Because if you have something that's pulling you deep into the future, then you don't have to push yourself. Because Tony Robbins says, push is going to wear you out. But if you have a vision of the future that excites you, you're going to be drawn to that automatically. And one is, imagine how beautiful it's going to be waking up in the morning and the first thing you see is the face of a beautiful woman who adores you, who's excited to be with you. Most men live in relationships where they're barely tolerated. They have a terrible sex life, they have a terrible dating life, or they're in a relationship with a woman who barely acknowledges and tolerates their existence. But you could have somebody who wakes up and is actually excited to be with you. Somebody who's excited to have your children, somebody who's excited to support you on your mission, with your business, with your career. Imagine what that's going to be like, going into beautiful places in nature with that person by your side, exploring the world, at some point doing that with your children. What is a vision of the future that generally excites you? And that's what I find with a lot of men. They lack excitement. They lack excitement for life. So ask yourself, what would actually excite me? If you could go back to that childlike, wondrous, magical spirit. Children ask themselves, oh, what would I be excited about? Unconsciously, what would I love to do? We're just so caught up in responsibilities, duties, and to-do lists that the joy and the excitement for life kind of subsides along the way. But you have to keep in mind, we only ever do things to feel great anyway. Even if we help other people, which is definitely selfless. I 100% believe that there is a selfless side to us as human beings. We still in the end do it because it's going to make us feel great. It's going to give us a deep sense of purpose and meaning. So why don't you sometimes just shortcut directly to feeling great, to feeling happy? So going back to motivation, create a dystopian vision of the future you want to move away from and a beautiful vision of the future you want to move towards. Number two, the second reason why you haven't been able to get 3 dates per month as a man, which is just a tool to find an amazing and high quality relationship, is because you have limiting beliefs. Number one, I want to work on myself first. My favorite one. I want to work on myself first. You want to work on yourself? Go out and approach women. You're going to be working on yourself. See, people say they want to do all this inner work. Well, you can't really do a lot of inner work just by working internally. Yes, you can to an extent, but the best way to work on yourself, to do all this inner work, is to actually go out there, take action, face your fears, and experience life. That is the single best way to work on yourself. Yes, meditation is amazing. Meditation retreats, emotional freedom technique, attending personal development seminars. By the way, if you're in Dublin, Ireland, on the 17th of June, we're going to be doing one, a free seminar in Dublin, right? There's many different beautiful things that you can do to work on yourself. But the single best thing you could ever do to work on yourself is to take action, to confront your fears, to do what's difficult. That is the single best thing you could ever do, because anybody can sit at home on a warm pillow and think about what life is supposed to be like. You can think about your challenges, you can think about your fears, and meditation is definitely amazing, don't get me wrong, but the single best thing you can do is to actually go out there and confront them. So if you want to work on yourself, start taking action. Second, I don't have enough time. Really? If you sleep 8 hours a night, you have 16 hours a day, that's 112 waking hours a week, something like that. Right? Now, obviously, you're going to be working a proportion of them, but could you dedicate 5 to 8 hours per week for something that's super important to you? Out of 112 waking hours, anybody can find 5 to 8 hours per week to be dedicated for something they actually care about. If you say you don't have time, it's not important enough for you. Tony Robbins says time is emotion. Okay? If you say you don't have time, there's other reasons. Lack of motivation, or the third point we're going to speak about in a minute. This is just a limiting belief. It's absolute and utter nonsense. Maybe you genuinely think, maybe I'm going to give you that, maybe you genuinely think it's going to take you're going to need 15 hours a week or so. No, 5 to 8 hours per week, right? That's all it takes for X amount of months. That depends on your skill set, where you're already at, depends on the amount, how effective you are when it comes to taking action. That's a little bit individual, right? 5 to 8 hours per week for X amount of months and you can find an amazing high quality relationship. That's all it takes. I wrote down a few more limiting beliefs. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh yeah, you think that being an introvert is a problem and that you have to change yourself to find an amazing girlfriend and life partner. 80% of my clients are nerdy, right? The business owners, professionals, doctors, lawyers, computer scientists, engineers, the likes of that, right? And a lot of them, 80% are introverts. I'm very extroverted, but I've worked with introverts for many years from 26 different countries. So I know exactly what they're like. And a lot of them think, oh, I don't want to change myself to find somebody. And I feel that I have to become an extrovert. No, you don't have to become an extrovert, because you have to understand you can remain an introvert. The only scientifically documented difference, according to Andrew Huberman, who lectures at Stanford, I believe, who has the Huberman Lab podcast, amazing by the way, he says the only scientifically documented difference between introverts and extroverts is that introverts get more dopamine from social interactions than extroverts. Seems quite counterintuitive, doesn't it? Introverts get more dopamine from social interactions than extroverts. You're like, no, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, it does, because then they're satiated quicker. Me, as an extrovert, I need a lot more social interactions to feel satiated, to feel, okay, now I want to go spend time by myself. Fernanda, my girlfriend, she only needs a very, very, very tiny amount of social interaction. And then she's like, okay, I can go read a book, spend time with my beautiful, amazing ginger boyfriend. She can go back to privacy. But I can spend 12, 13, 15, 17 hours a day in social company and not get bored. Yes, I do want time by myself. Everybody, introverts as well as extroverts, want time by themselves. We all need it. It's just the proportions are different. So you can remain an introvert. That's not the problem. But you're confusing shyness and insecurity with being an introvert. That's not the same thing. You can be true to who you are as a person, but don't limit yourself, because there's certain things you're born with naturally, certain values, certain things that excite you about life, certain things you just don't care about. For example, I couldn't give a fuck about cooking. I don't like it. Most boring activities, like most hobbies most men have, I just don't care about. Right? Watching football, playing football, I couldn't care. I love martial arts, I like dancing bachata, and I like teaching, dating, and personal development. That's what I care about. I care about very, very few other things. And you just have to understand that there are certain hobbies that are true to you, that are always going to be true to you. But that does not mean that you can't develop your character in a favorable way, that you cannot develop habits of putting yourself out there. Remember, meeting women is just a skill set. Being able to turn on communication skills, hooking our interest, all of that is a skill set you can develop. It is not something that's reserved for extroverts. So you have certain limiting beliefs. So regarding the second point, I'd like to encourage you to examine closely what are the limiting beliefs that are stopping you, that are holding you back from finding an amazing girlfriend and life partner. What do you believe you just couldn't do? What do you believe other men can do? Oh, they're so great looking, they're so much taller than me, all of that nonsense. You just have to ask yourself, is there somebody in this world who roughly looks like me, behaves like me, who has roughly the same circumstances as me, who has been able to achieve this outcome in his life? And I can tell you, I've worked with men from 26 different countries. I've been able to help men from 26 different countries all around the world get a better dating life and find the right girlfriend and life partner. So there's a huge variety of different types of men. And it doesn't matter how tall you are, what you look like, what your ethnical background is, what your religious background is, politics. None of that matters. You can develop the skill set of meeting women in real life, and you can find an amazing girlfriend and life partner. You can absolutely do it. Examine those beliefs, and then they're just heal them with truth, because remember, the only thing that's going to set you free is the truth. You don't have to affirm certain things that aren't true. You don't have to say, I'm an extrovert, I'm an extrovert, I'm an extrovert, I'm an extrovert, and sit on your pillow at home, chanting certain things while lighting a candle. That's not what this is about. Just remember what the truth is. The truth is, it's a learnable skill set, it's communication. You've been able to achieve much more difficult things in many other areas in your life already, so you can solve this as well. The third reason why you haven't been able to get 3 dates per month, got an amazing dating life, or found a great girlfriend or life partner, is because you haven't developed the skill set. It's a technical skill set of meeting women in real life and meeting women online. Figuring this whole online dating thing out, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, Match.com, which prompts to use, which not, which behavior to show on algorithms, all that, it's just a skill set. You can either learn that by yourself, you can dedicate several years to that by figuring it out yourself. You can hire somebody as a coach. There's many different ways of doing it. You can do it by yourself, or you can get help. But the important thing is, I don't care. That's not true. Obviously I care. Obviously I want you to do it with me, because I know your life is going to be so much better. But again, even if you choose to do it by yourself, obviously I care that you do it with me. But above that, I care that you do it, that you dedicate yourself to figuring this out. Because one more happy man makes the world a better place. Jordan Peterson talks about that all the time. You're a node in a network. You affect so many people around you. And if you don't figure this out, you will be an unhappy, resentful man who will compensate with alcohol, drugs, prostitutes, all kinds of terrible things. And your children are going to suffer, because you're not going to end up alone. You're going to end up with somebody. You're going to end up in a subpar relationship that's going to make you suffer, your wife suffer, and your children suffer. So I don't care whether you do it with me or not. Yes, I do care. But much more so, I care that you develop the motivation, figure out what you want to move away from, what you want to move towards, how amazing your life is going to be if you figure it out, heal your limiting beliefs, and then develop the skill set. If you do it, you can find an amazing girlfriend and life partner. And if you want me to help you with that personally, simply apply for a free initial consultation call. We'll draw up a plan for you based on your individual situation, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you very soon.